Well, that's another good point that you're making there, and that is that crowdfunding, you're not actually paying for the, based on the description and the definition of crowdfunding, you're paying for the production of the book, and your thank you is you get the end product, the book. So it's, you're not actually paying for the product. And that the reason I agree with you that that's not sustainable, issue after issue after issue, is that if I wanted to collect a comic book title like I had been historically, I don't expect these guys to get them out monthly, but each month I would buy a comic book at, let's say today's prices, what are they, 5.99, so $6 a pop.
Some of my Spawn titles are literally $4.
There you go. So $4, and I'm not even going to say anything about the regularity of them, so that it's monthly. Okay, I get why they're not in the industry because I've been a creator for a while. I know it takes a lot longer for those of us who don't have the the economy of scale.
What was it that Joe Benitez puts out? Lady Mechanic, I think that's what his name is, and he does a run that'll like go 4 books, and then you won't hear from him for a year, and then he'll put out the next story. You'll have a monthly releases for 4 months, and then it'll be a year or two. I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me to collect those books, but it's you know give me the regularity. Let me know the story's coming. Things like that. It's
Yeah. So the time between releases is a problem in crowdfunding. And also, too, the idea that, like you alluded to earlier, paying $25 per issue plus shipping, it becomes more than a lot of people can afford because there's,
but Dojo, you get a bunch of stickers and this poster, and this alternate cover.
don't forget the bookmarks.
I've seen it. By the way, that's a good way to give value for people are overpaying for a product. The problem is that, like, you're starting to see, certainly when we're heading into a downturn with the actual economy, people are like, look, I don't know how many more of these books I can spend 25. I have drawers full of bookmarks and stickers I don't give a crap about. I'm happy to support people, but like, come on, guys, is this how the system's going to work? And the reason it functions like this because there is no ecosystem, thanks to Diamond for the 50 years or whatever it is, and like the actual production, publication, and promotion of books. There is no system to do that. That's why I'm a big fan of like just the idea of the Iron Age movement. People that are trying to create that alternate ecosystem. Sure, it starts with the creators, but eventually guys like me kind of creep in and slime ball our way into helping you market books. There's going to be, we need more people getting into the printing and the publishing and things like that of the books, which I think Rip was one of the first people to start trying to focus on that side of things. Is he done everything perfect? No, but once again, young kid who's learning.
Yeah, I didn't have any idea how young he was till you told me before the show. I mean, shoot, I'm old enough to be his dad.
Absolutely. So you're watching what is a whole ecosystem that needs to be created, and slowly is. Now, is crowdfunding and the whole like CG system that's been created, is that able to withstand long enough to where the actual architecture of the system, ecosystem, can be built without that kind of caving in? That I don't know about. I mean, to me, when I look at like Twitter, look at the internet, that whole system seems to be imploding faster as the days go.
Indeed. Yeah, I agree.
There are, like you said, there's still a lot of good people over there, and there is still, you know, maybe at least a kernel of what it was intended to be at the beginning is still there.
There are still some projects that I think are worthy of crowdfunding backing, but looking at the big picture, we all have a finite amount of money that we can put like disposable income toward our comic book collecting. And there was a time where I would back not just the books I thought were great, but the creators I thought were great. And there was a time where it occurred to me, I can't keep that up. It's got to, something's got to give. So I started being very, very picky about I'm not just going to back this because I like the guy. I'm going to back it because it's a product I want. Because, 10 years from now, is that something I'm going to want to go back and read? Am I going to be glad that I collected it? Or is it just, oh, yeah, I remember I thought that guy was nice? You know what I mean?
Well, and ultimately, I'll stand by this. You're not doing that creator any favors by doing that, because at some point they're going to have to rely on their audience and the people that want that. And the more we give sympathy purchases, the more we try and help our friends out, the more we skew their understanding of what their audience is. You know, if 100 people buy your book because, oh, it's a sympathy and I like him, he's a nice guy. Okay, you might get a book or two out of him, but eventually you're not helping build your fan base, the people that love your creation and are going to ride or die with that creation.
So honestly, I think that's what we're seeing right now in this crowdfunding campaign that I've got live. It's called Dojo Kun Chronicles, and there's less than, let me see, I'm looking at the calendar here. There's like a week left. Okay, it would take a Christmas miracle to get that funded. And I recognize that. I'm not laughing at it. I'm actually sorely disappointed. But by the same token, it's definitely a lesson. And one of the reasons you and I wanted to talk tonight was to tell people that that's exactly what you're saying. Maybe the people who backed Siamese and Projectile Reptile were at the beginning people who maybe liked my persona, wanted to give me a chance at the beginning. But now that I'm putting out this anthology, maybe that interest has waned. And I blame nobody. You know, I'm not saying that it's anybody's fault. I'm just saying that this may be what you're describing happening in real life right now, you know, in real time.
It's just a distortion in the market. Like it's things happen for this reason. And maybe this is a hard question. Would it have made more sense for you as a creator to kind of keep to yourself, find your own audience, and have like a realistic understanding of who your people like really are versus, getting the all those eyes on you? Would it have helped even as far as your growth as a creator to like spend more time kind of going through that hardship phase?
You know, the thing is, when you say keep to yourself, I think that, you know, that's a suicide as far as marketing goes, because keeping to yourself won't put eyes on your project. But I hear you. You're talking about organic growth, not the growth of having a group of friends, but instead the a growth of people finding and becoming interested in the book itself. And that can happen over time. The subscribers to my YouTube channel, for example, happen very slowly. And I think that showed an actual number of people who are interested in the show. If I got a whole bunch up front, it wouldn't have been as meaningful and I wouldn't have learned as much from it. So yeah, that's a good point. That maybe had I not joined any kind of group and instead went to the crowdfunding campaigns that, or sorry, the crowdfunding platforms that had the larger audiences, it might have made a difference. But I don't know. I think that would have been a tough road to hoe because you've got so many hats that you have to wear as a comic book creator. You know, you think, well, I can do this because I can write, or maybe I can do this because I can draw. But are you also a marketer? Are you also a businessman? Are you also? I mean, there's so many other things that you have to do. How organized are you when you've got 100 people who back your book? When it comes time for fulfillment, that's a big project. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it's a really big and it's an investment in time and effort. And then there's things like the advertising. You were talking earlier about, you know, sending out an email once a week. That takes some discipline, right? To do that kind of thing. So
By the way, I'm a marketer and I know this. I know how to do this, understand the necessity of doing it. Absolutely terrible at it. I pay for an email service. I hardly ever use it. Someone's up, time to write a new email. Do I really have to? Am I trying to promote it? I'm the worst at it, and I know how important it is. But like, was kind of going along with what you were saying. If you can want to pay for advertising on Google, that advertising is good as long as you keep throwing money at Google to do the damn advertising. The minute that you stop doing this, start paying. And by the way, unless you're selling really high ticket items, it doesn't always work out the best because it gets very expensive to just continue throwing that over there. And what's your ROI on like the lifetime value of a new client? Who knows? You're paying $5 a person to get over there and look at you. Well, unless everybody's buying a copy of the book, you're not going to live that down. So there's that frustrating element of it. It's kind of like, to me, it's analogous to the idea of, yeah, you can take the shortcut to get the people to like the CG element, but they stop coming by and they go away just as quickly as they came because it's a shortcut. Marketing, when I talk to anyone, I bring them on as a client or I do work for them, it's like, understand this takes time. This is just, even if you were to like just start working SEO, on a website, you may not see anything happen for 6 months just because the way Google's algorithm works. It's got to kind of find a place for you by testing different waters. 6 months that it might take to make that work. All marketing is a long term thing. It gets, can I stick around for 2 years to see the fruit of doing all of these things and putting the time in? And one of the things, like, so my background, I say it all the time, I'm from music. The one thing having talked to professional musicians and people that do that for a living, is that the people that are successful are the ones that can sit around and take forever to do it. Tyler Draw and Doc had a big thing where people get pissed at him because he's like, oh, you never really cared because you're stepping back to do family life over comics. You never really mean anything. He's like, yeah, it did. But then at a certain point, I have to realize it's really important in life and taking care of my family. I'm more than happy to make comics be a hobby as long as I'm doing what I need to be doing for real life. Some of us don't always find. He's one of those ones that maybe doesn't make it all the way, and that's okay. You know, that's why you get a lot of starving musicians in their 20s that will do anything to make it. I got wife and kid. I can't do the same things I could have done when I was 20. I can't sleep in a van with 4 guys living on ramen. You know, as Henry Rollins told you, he was talking about knowing how many calories were in a Snickers bar and divvying it up for what the guy's got in a day, Like, it's not where I'm at. So, is there like one last thing you want to tell everybody before you go? And then after that, tell them where they can go look you up, where they can find you.
So, yes, I think that crowdfunding is a good start. In some instances, it's good to get people interested in your books, but then you really need to start thinking about some other strategies. I do have some other things that I'm hoping to do in the next year that doesn't necessarily require hiring artists and colorists and letterers and editors because I'm hashtag just a writer. So, I've got to get all of those other creatives involved. But I'm going to take a look at some other avenues of distribution and other ways to get eyes on the projects. So in the meantime, I do have a live campaign. It's just got 7 days though. So what I'd really rather point you to is my website, which is dojokuncomics.com/dojokuncomics. And on it are all the comics books that I've been publishing over the course of the last 10 years, many of which are available print on demand. And soon I'll have my comics available on Amazon and at Walmart.com. Hopefully, those will be passive income and get many more eyes on the project. And maybe that is the kind of organic growth that you were alluding to a little while ago.
Thank you so much for coming on.
It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for having me.